first question now, guys. Okay. So what we've done domestic travel, international travel. What happens if it is part domestic, part international? What are accountable versus not accountable plans, and the documentation. These are the only 5 topics which are there in travel. Is the flight ticket deductible? That the moment you get an airfare, now your antenna should be on the alert. Why? Because if it is domestic, then I know I don't have to split. Either I get 0 or I get 100. If it is international, I know I need to split. Okay. Chris is a self-employed consultant in Florida, flew to California. Bingo, I get my first answer. It is a domestic travel. For what? For a 5-day trip. During the first 3 days, Chris visited several tourist attractions. Great. Now I know. So when it's domestic, what was the first question? Is it primarily for business or for personal purposes? It is primarily for personal purposes. Will I get any airfare deduction? The answer is no. Okay. So for a 5-day trip, 3 personal, 2 business, I know that it is a primarily personal visit. I will not get any tax deduction. So it's primarily a personal thing, no tax deduction. I don't even need to read these. I don't even need to read the other things. It's a redundant data for me. The answer is A. Is it clear? Now look at the next one. How much of these expenses may Mr. Peter deduct on his return? Mr. P, who's a self-employed engineer in Boston, traveled to Chicago. Again, it's a domestic travel. Why? Because he wants to attend a course on new engineering techniques. He spent 2 weeks attending the course and remained in Chicago for an additional 6 weeks on personal matters. Okay, so this is a domestic travel where you're spending 2 weeks for business and you're spending 6 weeks for personal. So the airfare cost and the meals and the lodging can be 3 different headings. The flight costs 200. Now this is primarily a personal visit. So airfare allowability will be 0. Okay. So nothing for the airfare. Nothing. Hotels cost 600 but not at a restaurant. That means ideally 600 I should have split first into 50%. Why? Because I'm going to get only half. I did not eat at the restaurant. So whatever I'm going to get only half. So 300. Out of this 300 also, 1/4 I will take because the balance was personal. Is it clear, guys? So 300 into 1/4. Oh, hotel is 600, guys. Sorry. Hotel is 600. It is not meals. Okay, I'll just put it separately. Okay. So it is hotel, guys. Okay. I'm sorry. I misread it. Hotel is 600. So your lodging becomes 600 into 1/4 and 600 into 3/4 here. Okay. So this is 150 and this is 450. And how much was meals? Whatever is the meals, I'm going to divide it by 2 and then split it. Meals are 320. So 320 into 50% into 2 by 8 and 320 into 50% into 6 by 8 is personal. And then the tuition course costs 500, which will be totally for business purposes. Okay, just calculate and tell me what's the answer quickly. So this is 320 divided by 2, 160 into 2 divided by 8, 40. So I take 40 140, 150 and 500. 690 is my answer. The answer becomes 690. Is it clear? For a domestic trip, is this clear? It's a very good sum for domestic travel. It contains everything. It talks about your airfare, it talks about your meals, it talks about your lodging, and how much will be allowed as a deduction. So it is 690. The answer is 690. Now look at the next question. How much may Dr. W deduct for the trip on his Schedule C, sole proprietorship, right, for the current year? During the current year, Dr. D, who's a self-employed marine biologist specializing in sharks, attended a convention in Australia concerning the feeding and migration habits of sharks. The convention was beneficial to his business since it was held in an area which is renowned for its abundance of sharks. Also, the foremost shark authorities in the world live there. So, where did he travel? Australia. So, it is an international visit. What is the key word? Split all, every cost. He spent 7 full days attending the convention. So, your business trip is for 7 days, and personal is for 3 days. He incurred the following cost. Okay, I think we should do it like this. So this is airfare. How much? 2,000. Lodging, 1,000. And meals, 500 at the restaurant. So this is a restaurant meal. How much is very easy. I'll split every. In what proportion? This will be 70% and this will be 30%. How did I calculate it? 7 by 10 and 3 by 10. So how would you split it? So this 2,000 again, the 70% would come here, which is 1,400, and the balance will go here. Lodging again, 70% will go here, 700. Meals again, 100%, so you'll get nothing, no deduction, no reduction induction, no 50%. 70% is 350. You add all of this, you will get your deduction. Hey, why are guys logging off? So we still have time for today's class, right? So 2450 is the answer. Is it clear? Very easy. There's nothing in this chapter, okay? And it's a very interesting topic. Now let's look at a question like this. Okay? What is the deductible expense for this guy for the trip? Laboratory consultant, flew to Buffalo. This is local. That means domestic. How many days did he stay? He stayed 3 days. 2 days were on business. So here we have, domestic and international. Again, airfare, 2 days were on business. So out of 3, if 2 days are on business, so it is primarily business, right? So airfare will be full 100%. How much was the airfare? 300. Airfare will be 100%. That means 300. Meals were 20 a day. So for meals, you will take only for 2 days. So here you were there for 2 days, here you were there for 1 day. So take 2 days for 20 becomes 40. And lodging was again 20 per day. See, I'm not interested in taking the personal deduction, right? I'm only interested for taking, okay. Tell me what one mistake I did here, guys. One mistake that I did here. Meals not given at a restaurant, right? If meal is not at a restaurant, it will be half of this, right? So this will be divided by 2, which is 20. And lodging is 20 per day for 2 days, which will be 40. So it is 300, 20, and 40, which is $360. Is this clear, everybody? If it is international, you will split all. From Buffalo, Brett flew to Toronto in Canada, where he spent 2 weeks on business and 1 week with relative. That means personal is 1 week and business is 2 weeks. So this is again primarily for business. Airfare to Toronto and back home was 600. So I'll split all. Okay. So 600 into 2/3. 400 would be international. For food was 100 per week. So you'll take 100 per week, but it is only 50% of 100. And for how many weeks? 2 weeks. So again, it becomes 100. Is it clear? And lodging was 200 per week. So I'll take it for 2 weeks. It will become 400. So this is 900. This is 360. I add both of them. I get 1260. So the answer is 1260. Is this clear? So we did meals, we did travel. Now a couple of very small questions. Is this clear? Everybody, is this clear?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Now look at this question, okay? A taxpayer usually lives and works in St. Louis but is assigned a job in Little Rock for an indefinite period. I know if it is indefinite, I get no deduction. Why? Because IRS is going to treat as if the new business is my new place of work. So no travel deduction. Okay? The answer becomes 0. Straight away. This is all redundant information for me. I'm not even going to read this. Okay. Now this is that question on the accountable versus unaccountable plan. Okay? How much and in what manner should Peterson's deduct for these expenses? Peterson's Unlimited sent one of its employees to attend an association meeting on behalf of the company. It is customary and good for business for spouses to attend these meetings and participate in the social activities in the evenings. The employee took her spouse along for this purpose. Airfare for the employee was 200, food at restaurant, lodging. Airfare the spouse, meals and lodging. Peterson's reimbursed its employees for these amounts. So see how much was spent for the employee and how much was spent for the spouse. For the employee was 2 to 4,500 and the spouse was 213 and 450. This is my business expense. This is not my expense. So just because I allowed him to take his wife does not mean wife or husband, whatever it is. It does not mean that this expense has to be borne by the company. Can the company pay it? The answer is yes. The company can reimburse you, but this will be included in the employee's compensation. An employee will have to pay tax on it. So it will be regarded as a deduction for the company, but as salary, not as travel expense. So 500 would be a travel expense, but 450 would be a salary deduction, not travel. Is the delta clear? Is that concept very clear? How much is the deduction? How much is included in gross income? And who gets the deduction and how? For that, I wanted to take this up in the class. Okay? Okay, this is a very small question. See, what amount, if any, must be included in these W2? Now, Form W2 is clearly saying that how much would be your, when the employer gives it to you. See, B is an engineer for P Ltd partnership. P has an accountable travel expense plan. D incurred 375 in travel expenses on a 2-day business trip. When he returned to his tax home, he worked late and incurred 90 for meals. Dino gave his employer an adequate accounting within a reasonable time and did not have any excess reimbursement. So, if everything is told to you and if everything has been incurred and you have been working overtime, there's an accountable plan. Is there anything to be allowed as a deduction for the company? Yes, full amount will be allowed as a deduction and nothing will be charged as compensation. Everything is travel and the employee will not record anything in his gross income. So the employee's gross income becomes